It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're listening. I hope you're doing okay. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant, located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by our app. It's free, so why didn't you download it yet? Download it now. Visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the Download the App banner. Can't miss it. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold, and you can get a copy of it right now by visiting Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. Looking to get a signed copy? Visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the book. You can't miss it. And don't forget, the holidays are here. So if you're looking to get a couple of copies to give away as gifts, more than two, or two or more, I should say, just drop me an email, billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com, and we'll give you some discounts there. So, hey, we want everybody's Christmas to be happy. Yeah, that's because that's who I am. I'm a happy guy. Anyway. Coming up a little bit later on the show, we got some emails, we got some sports scores, we got some news to talk about, some updates on Miguel Cotto and Sergey Kovalev, if you care. I just glanced through some emails, and the main topic today seems to be the main topic of the show, which is David Haye. Now, listen, I've been very vocal about my thoughts on David Haye. And the truth of the matter is I think he's a fraud. I've said this many, many times before. And I say this not because of his accomplishments in the ring as a cruiserweight, because, he was a world champion and he was dominating. I do feel that he left the division to avoid Vlad Zarek at the time. Krzysztof Vlad Zarek was a top guy in the cruiserweight division. David Haye was ready to fight him, or was supposed to fight him, and left the division and went on and captured a world heavyweight title. And from that point on, and I don't even think he won the fight against Valuev, but nonetheless, here's a guy that was a fraud in the heavyweight division, chased Klitschko all around, then laid an egg and always had an excuse. I mean, this guy could write a book of excuses, and he just got one again. He was supposed to have a rematch with Tony Bellew. Now, if you forgot, Tony Bellew beat him in their last fight. Tony Bellew moving up to fight David Haye. And David Haye lost to Tony Bellew. And the excuse train came again. Yeah, he got an injury, he this, he that. And domestically over in England, there was a demand, ironically enough, for a rematch. And they actually set it. And the fight was scheduled to take place in December, the 17th to be exact. But yesterday, it was reported that David Haye had an accident. No, he didn't piss in his pants. He had another kind of an accident, and they had to reschedule, at least tentatively, reschedule the fight, which now will be held in March or May of 2018. Here's the thing. He injured himself on a stairs, on a workout, and he's calling it a freak accident. Accidents do happen, but you've heard me refer to one of my favorite shows of the 70s, Columbo. And, the way Columbo always got his guy was he let them hang themselves. And I kind of see this with the excuse that David Haye has. Joining me right now from his secret undisclosed location is my man, Sal Rocky Senecola. Good morning, Sal. How you doing?
Good morning, Bill. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. I don't know if you had a chance, but David Haye once again has injured himself, and I wanted to read to you his statement, his quote, after injuring himself on a stair machine. He says, after a freak accident during a stair conditioning session, and I should say that. I shouldn't say machine. Let's just say a stair conditioning
stair
session,
stepper,
which I have done with no incident hundreds of times. I lost my footing and slipped. I instinctively grabbed the banister to stop myself toppling down the stairwell. Okay, so obviously it was a real staircase. He says, in doing so, I somehow managed to damage my biceps. I underwent a procedure to repair it. This was pretty straightforward, and my doctor and psychotherapist have no doubt that not only will I be able to make a full recovery, but I'll be able to be back in the gym to start my arm rehabilitation in 2 weeks. I would like to apologize to Tony and his family and his training team, as well as all of the fans who have been left disappointed. Sal,
Wow.
He injured himself on November 16th, which was only 5 days ago. Already underwent the procedure to correct it, and as his statement suggests, he'll be ready to resume training in a couple of weeks, or at least the rehabilitation on his biceps. This is what I see in this, and then I want to get your thoughts. David Haye has been a BS artist as long as I can remember. This is a guy that chased Vladimir Klitschko all around, demanding a fight, finally gets it, and laid an egg. I mean, was a chicken shit in the ring. I mean, I can't describe it any other way. And then tried to suggest he injured his toe, putting his foot up on the banister after the fight to give an excuse why he didn't even try to engage with Klitschko during that fight. And I see this and I read this, and the reason why I use Columbo as a example is, I don't know about you, but it seems like he's got every angle covered about this injury, similar to the way Columbo always catches his guy who always has the answer and the excuse of why someone could have killed their person other than himself. Coming up with this whole storyline. What do you see in this? Is this a legit story in your opinion, or do you see a little too much information? I mean, you injure yourself on a freak accident. Isn't that what it is, a freak accident? I remember breaking all my bones in my hand once, opening a car door. That was a freak accident. I don't know how it happened. I just hit the handle on the door, and it just hit my bones in a certain way. I broke 4 bones in the top of my hand. I mean, I can't give exact explanation of how it happened. David Haye seems to have the whole story down pat. Your thoughts, please.
Well, first of all, was fight canceled or postponed or what?
Rescheduled, yeah.
Rescheduled, okay. It's problematic. And when you have a problematic situation that continues or continually happens, there's got to be, you got to look at the facts. You got to look at the package you're dealing with, or you've got to say, hey, there's definitely something wrong with this picture. And, I remember when I was doing multiple sports, wrestling, football, pole vaulting, baseball, boxing, I was pulled aside after a while. and said, "Hey, look, kid, if you're serious about boxing, you got to understand these other sports are great. You can cross train, to a degree, but you got to focus and you got to protect yourself, and you've got to make sure you're in shape and you're ready for boxing, and do not do anything that's going to be outside that's going to injure you." And I understood that then, and I understand it now. You have to protect yourself. You have to train. You have to condition. You got to do things. You got to be anticipating what the risk and reward is going to be when you're working out or something else. I mean, one time I had stress fractures because I was sprinting too much on too hard of a surface. All right, I laid off of that. That did postpone a fight, but I had there were stress fractures on my shins. Now, I can't say that this did not happen to David Bay, but you would think
that's David Haye. David Haye, not Bay. Come on, man. We're in the year 2017. There was a fighter Bay way back when. We're in 2017, not 1983. But go ahead.
Thank you very much. I get that flashback, and I think that he's one of those guys that is going to find an accident waiting to happen, and it's just his history and his past and present, and we don't know what the future is. So this guy, he's got to stop them excuses. You got to put him in a bubble, and he's got to be protected while he trains until he gets to the ring. That's the only thing I could say, Bill. I mean, I don't know. I don't know who's training him. I don't know who looks out after him. I don't know if he was just walking a stair stepper or climbing stairs, thinking he was Rocky running up steps or whatever. I don't know. But this one after another, a litany of excuses or injuries. It happens once, it happens twice. You got a problematic guy here, and you got to be careful with your investment as far as you can count on him for a main event. I don't know.
Hey, listen, Sal Rocky Senecola, who appears to be running for some political office with the dancing around the question answer. But in your opinion, Sal, straight out, do you think that there's too much information being given on what is being classified as a freak accident? I mean, like you said.
I do. Bottom line is yes.
Right.
Yes, Bill. I'm coming forth. Yes.
All right. That's all we ask, Sal.
It's bull.
Right.
I dance a little bit.
You got Fred Astaire.
You asked me what time it is. I'm going to tell you how they make the watch.
Listen, Fred Astaire had nothing on you. But, listen, the truth of the matter is when you have a freak accident, it's exactly that, a freak accident. You say to yourself, I don't know how I broke my leg. I was walking to the mailbox, and next thing I know, I broke my leg. You don't say, well, I was walking to the mailbox, and I stepped on this little piece of stone, and then the way that stone twisted my ankle just the right way, put an extra little stress on my leg, and I broke it.
Maybe he's got a future. He's going to be an author. He pays attention to details, so he's exercising this. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, it's a bunch of bull. You don't do this thing. You don't orchestrate it. You don't come up with a story. You get injured, and you go lick your wounds. You go get better, and then you come back out. That's it. I don't know. Maybe he's got some conditioning issues or something else. He just feels he needs a little more time to get ready for this fight.
No, what he is a con man, and for some reason, the British boxing public seems to want to see this guy. They most of them love David Haye, and I don't get it. I mean, he's done nothing for boxing, and he's talked a lot of smack. It reminds me, I don't know how many young people out there that are watching this show actually read anymore, but the old book that I read in school, The Boy Who Cried Wolf type of a story, is similar to this, because David Haye has come up with so many excuses, and right now, the way I'm acting and the way I'm assuming, and you know what they say about that, but assuming that he's telling a tall tale, he could very well be 100% truthful, but because of the historical aspect of all his stories, and the fact that he's always got an excuse, I don't want to make an excuse, but,
but.
Yeah, he's got so many excuses that it's hard to believe this guy. And I just think that maybe he wasn't in top physical condition, and he realized that, his fight was less than a month away, which, I mean, let's be real, he could have gotten in decent condition in a month, but whatever. Or maybe he decided he wanted to go and do some things for the holidays. And
enjoy the holidays. Maybe he's going to take a week in the islands. Who knows?
I was just going to say, you took the words right out of my mouth. It almost seems like he decided, you know what? I want to enjoy the holidays. I don't want to worry about training. I want to eat. I want to do this. I want to do that. Let's schedule it for March or May, and then this way I can go and do whatever I want for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Or actually, he probably doesn't even celebrate Thanksgiving. Maybe he does. He lives, I think, in the U.S. now. I'm pretty sure most of his time.
I don't know, man.
But either way, it seems like David Haye doesn't care where he is. He'll celebrate any holiday, and it is the holiday season. So maybe I think you're right. Maybe he decided that he didn't want to be in training during the holidays, and maybe it was better for himself to be able to do whatever he wants and then resume a serious training regimen after the holidays. I mean, what you think?
Hey, guess what? That sounds like a great game plan. Are you in his corner? Tell you what, why don't you give him his phone? Give him our phone number. Let him call in and explain himself in detail.
Right. I got normally I just I usually don't respond to the Facebook Live. We simulcast on Facebook Live. It's not the real video cameras that we have for the television or anything like that. But I like it. It's fun. And I just got a comment on my man Ernie. He says anytime an excuse is so long-winded, it's hard to believe it. And it's true.
I mean, there's a credibility issue there, Bill.
Well, I mean, that's what we're talking about, and
it's
I'm
one
saying,
after another.
I'm just saying, like, he had so much, there was so much explanation. I mean, a simple, hey, I was working out on the stairs, and I don't know what happened. Next thing I know, I injured myself. Case closed. I mean, that's more believable than, I instinctively went to grab the banister as I lost my footing, and I tore a bicep, which it does seem a little crazy. I mean, I don't know, I don't know. But anyway, Sal, hold that thought. We're going to take a short break. When I come back, we got more on that. We got more on a lot of things. Don't go nowhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Stop. Living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald. But there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
And it was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money.
It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote. This is important news for people who had a hip replacement and then had to have additional surgery as the result of a faulty hip implant or were diagnosed with high levels of metal in the blood, known as metallosis. You may have a right to a cash award and medical expenses. If you have been diagnosed with high levels of metal in your blood or have required more surgery because of hip implant failure, call the law offices of Davis & Crump right now. Our first consultation is free and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C. Show. Don't forget, check out our website, www.BillyCBoxing.com. And if you are watching the show or on Facebook Live simulcast, or if you're listening on the radio dial or even replaying a podcast, don't forget the full version, the same version that goes to the television networks, we upload up on YouTube every day. So you can either watch us live, because we do stream on YouTube, or watch the show via YouTube. It's a much more, it's a better quality version of the show. No question about that. You can go to youtube.com/talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING. I'm here with Sal Rocky Senecola, who's admiring his coffee cup. And I tell you something, Sal, it really, in my opinion, when you have an accident, a freak accident, it's exactly that, a freak accident. You don't have, all the answers. And what I see happening here is that, he and his team said, what can we do to get out of this fight? I mean, what can we do that the fans are going to believe? And think of the ramifications. I mean, they had the O2 Arena in London. They could have been evaluating what pre-ticket sales, how they were going, how they weren't going. Maybe they were going a little slow. Maybe they decided that they needed more time to promote it. They needed another storyline. I mean, there could have been a lot of factors aside from him just wanting to eat his face off for the holidays. I mean, what's your thoughts?
What was the original date of the fight?
December 17th. That's my point.
Well, that's the whole damn thing.
That's a month away.
He wants to go Christmas shopping. He wants to eat. He wants to go to a party. I don't know. I can't say that. But, let me tell you something. You set a date. You go backwards. And you look at your months you're going to have to train or prepare, 8 weeks, 6 weeks for this fight. And you outline where you're going to be doing your accelerating, your running, your this, that, your sparring, your bag work, your light work before the fight date, the last week. And, it's pretty much calculated. And, I can't understand it. Unless he, I'm not going to call him, I don't know his injury. But when you go into so much detail about injury and for the press and everybody else, you say, hey, look, I had a freak accident, injured my arm, that's about it. And the doctor says I need a couple of weeks to repair it. And what kind of reparation, what kind of repair did he get? Did they operate? Did they I mean, what are you talking about? How do you injure your bicep if you fall down? I don't know. Did he grab a banister and try to curl a little weight? I don't know.
You're all breaking up now, man.
I don't know.
But
I don't want to look at it.
But he according to his statement, which I'll read again, he says, after a freak accident during a stair conditioning session, which I've done with no incident hundreds of times, I lost my footing and slipped. I instinctively grabbed the banister to stop myself from tumbling down the stairwell, and in doing so, I somehow managed to damage my biceps. I underwent a procedure to repair it. This was a pretty straightforward procedure, and my doctor and psychotherapist have
that's the key.
Right, have no doubt that not only will I make a full recovery, but I'll be able to be back in the gym to start my rehabilitation in 2 weeks. I would like to apologize to Tony, his family, his training team, as well as all the fans who have been left disappointed. I think David Haye is full of you-know-what, and I think that the bottom line is David Haye is just milking the boxing public that's willing to pay to see him fight, which I don't understand. I don't understand. As far as Tony Bellew's concerned, I mean, he's always in a win-win situation fighting David Haye. He won the last fight. He is, I'm sure, getting paid handsomely to fight David Haye. And, the confusing part for me is why the fan base in England even care about David Haye. I mean, they have some really good, legitimate fighters in England right now that they could be standing behind. And by the way, David Haye, for the last I knew anyway, most of his time is spent in California. He lives in California most of the time throughout the year. So, I mean, not only do they have Anthony Joshua, but, Dillian White and Triple D, the young heavyweight that we're talking about all the time. They have other weight classes over in England that are, controlling the sport. Why waste your time and your hard-earned money on David Haye?
Well, he's a prodigal son of the origin there and everything else, and so you always root for your grassroots. And I'm always a Jersey boy, no matter what I do, no matter where I go, from a little town called Rivervale. So it's always something that you still have your fans, your friends, your family, and it's part of that pocket, part of the facet of what you do the rest of your life that's going to be followed by people who have that interest in you.
I think that that's probably the reason. David Haye probably said, you know what, I want to hang out with my mates. That's what they call them in England. We call them buddies. I want to hang out with my mates. I want to go and have a few pints. I want to eat a few pieces of cake. Not that the weight makes a difference in the heavyweight division, but I think there's a lot of pressure on him if he's even somewhat. I don't believe a word he says, and I like I say, I use this word a lot, probably too much, but David Haye is definitely a fraud. When you dissect, and I've done it many times, you dissect his resume, and really, I mean, who's he fought? I don't know. Even in the cruiserweight division, I mean, you can't criticize fighters for having to be forced to fight weak opposition. You can only criticize fighters for not fighting the fights. So I don't know. I think it's pretty fishy. We'll start with one email before we take a break, and it's from my man Mitch. He says, referring to this, and his subject on the email was fraud. He says, this guy, referring to David Haye, made all his money on the Klitschko fight, and he has seemed to have lost the passion after his big payday. Something about this story doesn't add up. Whether he's lost the passion for fighting or not, or at least being competitive, he certainly didn't have the competitive passion against Klitschko. His game plan against Klitschko was to survive 12 rounds. That's it. And if he could somehow squeak out a win, more power to him. He did not fight that fight like he was trying to really win the fight. And since that fight, he has not done that either. I mean, he just, I think he's a con man, Sal. I think he's a 100% con man, and he's taken advantage of a fan base that believes in him and believes all these stories.
Well, it appears that way, Bill, and you know what? I picked up on the second reading of your statement, and psychotherapist said you'll be ready? Or what does he need a psychotherapist telling him, okay, I know this happened, it was devastating, but you need to understand, you'll be fine just a couple of weeks. I mean, if you have a psychotherapist in your corner who's something a little different than Boudini Brown for Ali, I don't know. Maybe you got other issues that you need to be on track with, I don't know. Is you lose cannon, you wake up one day, I'm going to fight tomorrow. Hey, you know what? Let's postpone that fight. So if you're loose cannon like that, forget about it. But a psychotherapist said he should be fine 100%, right?
Sal, we talk about it all the time, like we goof around about, how weak our society has become mentally. And I always use the participation trophy as an example. But I think, you stumble across the answer of all answers. Here we are in the sport of boxing. Arguably, the most brutal sport, and part of the teams now. You used to have the fighter, his trainer, maybe another guy, a cut man. Maybe an extra guy hanging around. Maybe a team consisted of, let's be generous and say 4 people. Now you got those same 4. You got the fighter, you got the trainer, you got a cut man. Now you have a nutritionist. Now you have a psychotherapist in your corner. Now you have a guy that's going to help you with exercise. Now you have specific this and specific that. You practically have guys to do the exercise for you. It's a joke.
It's
and
reality.
To consult with a psychotherapist about how you're really feeling, David, about this injury. How are you really feeling? Yes, like you just said, Sal. Yes, I'm sure you're devastated, and I'm sure that there are a lot of other people that need to seek some mental assistance because they're equally as devastated. But you need to get out of this rut, David. You need to go forward. It reminds me of that old...
You need to believe in yourself, David. You need to understand this is just a temporary setback. We want you to think positive. Think you can, that you will. It's all a state of mind.
It reminds me of that show. What was it? I forget. David and Goliath. Oh, David and Goliath. And the dog would always go, "Gee, Davey, I don't know why you don't think that, Davey."
That dog was smart.
Yeah,
I looked for a Goliath every time I got a pet. I said, "Hey, you Goliath quality?"
Yeah.
Sale. What do you?
That's what David Haye really needs. He needs that dog in his corner to say, "Gee, Davey, you should get out there. Take your time off, Davey." But anyway, hold that
another
thought.
guy that's in prison right now because a dog used to talk to him.
Oh yeah, he's son of Sam. Son of Sam. Actually, he's been up for parole. He's a model citizen. Hold that thought. I'll tell you about that.
I don't know. They go
in a second. Don't go nowhere. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by. apply.
If you or a loved one have had hernia repair surgery with mesh reinforcement and suffered infection, chronic pain, mesh migration, mesh failure, organ damage, or needed additional surgery, call the Rely On Group right now. You may be eligible to receive a cash award and compensation for your medical expenses. Your voice deserves to be heard. Call the Rely On Group to be connected with a personal injury attorney for a free consultation. Call 800-715-4869. That's 800-715-4869.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. And speaking of today, which rhymes with today, is the fraud, David Haye. You like that one, huh? You knew
I like that. That was good. I like that. I saw where that poetry was going.
I wanted to thank for the email we read just before break, my man Mitch, for that one. Get you guys caught up with some other sports. Monday Night Football. What a shootout that was. 34-31 Falcons topped the Seahawks. I started watching that game. I was nodding out every time I looked up. Another touchdown was scored, So Falcons
another hawk.
Seemed to righted their ship. They were on a downswing for a bit. 34-31 over the Seahawks. In the NBA, the Hornets beat the Timberwolves 118-102. The Cavaliers over the Pistons 116-88. The Pacers topped the Magic 105-97. The 76ers beat the Jazz 107-86. The Knicks beat the Clippers 107-85. Trailblazers over the Grizzlies 100-92. The Wizards over the Bucks 99-88. The Pelicans, which still doesn't sound like a basketball team.
Wait. Say that one more time. I want to hear that again.
The Pelicans beat the Thunder 114-107. The Celtics beat the Mavericks in overtime 110-102. In case y'all forgot, or in case y'all haven't noticed, the Celtics are the best team in the NBA. 16-2 is their record right now. The Spurs beat the Hawks 96-85, and the Nuggets topped the Kings 114-98. Over in hockey, the Blue Jackets beat the Sabres 3-2. The Coyotes beat the Maple Leafs 4-1. The Predators beat the Jets 5-3. The Devils over the Wild in overtime 4-3. The Ducks beat the Sharks, not in real life, but in hockey, in a shootout 3-2. And the Flames, those Flames, Sally, they beat the Capitals 4-1. So that's what took place in the other sports. But got some other emails. You ready to read some emails or what?
I'd love to. Absolutely. Let me consult my psychotherapist first.
Yeah, let me see if I can handle them. I don't know.
It's only words on paper.
Some of it might be critical. But anyway, this is from the freak that we have that is a regular listener, viewer, and chat room person. Willie says,
all right, Willie.
Hey, Billy C., just in case you haven't heard, David Haye's rematch with fellow Brit Tony Bellew has been postponed after David Haye slipped on the stairs in a freak training accident. Hayes, who's had surgery on for his torn biceps, said he was devastated. Obviously, he had to consult his psychotherapist on that one. He said after the freak accident during schedules, where I've done so in an incident, blah, blah, blah. The quote that he wrote, he says, Willie says, I think that David Haye has a serious problem with the tissue that bonds his muscles together. I remember Sal mentioning some time ago about how it's a problem for some of the body beautiful type boxers, the ones who can't decide whether they want to be a boxer or a bodybuilder. Something definitely isn't right with Haye's body. He's fallen apart, for goodness sake. Maybe you and Sal can give us your thoughts on what's going on here. And he's referring to Haye's injury-prone body. Listen, everybody's more injury-prone as they age, but I'm a firm believer that David Haye is just a bullshit artist. I mean, I can't put it any other way. I can't sugarcoat it. This guy's a bullshit artist. And whoever believes him, shame on you. What do you think, Sal?
Well, I mean, there is an issue. I mean, like I said, when I was younger and coming up as a teen, and I had a developed body. I was naturally, my whole family physiologically, they were strong. They looked like they were lifting weights before people were really lifting weights. They were muscular, and as I was developing in other sports, I would get certain injuries, and the doctor would say, Sal, your body's still maturing, and sometimes the muscle tissue is stronger than the connective tissue, the ligaments, the tendons, and all that stuff. And the same thing when you age. It's like a whole cycle. You know, your muscles are here, your ligaments and tendons are here. You mature, they get even, they're balanced with each other. And then as you age, it starts to fall again. The muscle tissue is still stronger than in fading ligaments and connective tissues. And that's where you can have injuries because, you know, your muscular is pulling one way, but the connective tissue is stretching and limiting and ripping and tearing. You ever see older guys, sometimes they have these Popeye biceps. That's because a lot of times these tendons here, they rip without even hurting anybody, and they just drop the muscle. There's no longer muscle unless they want to get it surgically repaired. Now, I'm talking about older gentlemen, not ones that are going to be really fighting at that pace. But yeah, it's an imbalance on some level of connective tissue and muscle tissue.
Like I said, David Haye's
I stayed at Holiday Inn
bullshit.
Express.
All I'm going to say is, like I say, Sal, David Haye's a bullshit artist. You know,
that's the other thing.
I don't believe a thing he says. And if you've never read The Boy Who Cried Wolf, get yourself a copy and read it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Thanks for the email, Willie. Next email's from my man Jesse. He says, "Hey Billy C, what's your thoughts on fast-growing, highly touted prospect Teofimo on his comments about Rigondeaux against Lomachenko? Teo is a thinker and a studious fighter. He's referring. He had sent me a clip. He's referring to Teofimo as saying that he feels that Lomachenko will beat Rigondeaux, and he's been sparring with Rigondeaux.
Wow.
You know, my thoughts on that. You know, it's hard. I have this thing about fighters that become sparring partners. Now, I'm not suggesting that Teofimo is going to become a sparring partner. He's a young fighter, and he needs the time in the gym, especially with a quality fighter like Rigondeaux. But you know, and Sal, you correct me if I'm wrong, but when you're in sparring, when you're preparing, let me start over. When you're preparing for a fight, and you bring in sparring partners, and you're the guy preparing for the fight, and you know you bring in X amount of sparring partners, aren't you using those sparring partners to work on specific things? I mean, you certainly aren't trying to get in there and, you know, have a knockout, drag out, kill a fight, a war, if you will, with a sparring partner. I mean, that's not helping you prepare for an upcoming fight. And if I am correct about that, aren't you bringing in specific sparring partners and asking them, hey, listen, we want to work on X, Y, Z, so we want you to do this. Am I right, or am I missing something?
No, you're right to a degree. I mean, there are times where, you know, like one time I was training up in 42nd Street Times Square Gym, and there was Gil Clancy and Juan Laporte and Emil Griffith, and they said, "Hey Sal, can you move a few rounds with Juan?" I said, "Yeah, that's fine." And you know, you do your best. You're not going to try and kill each other, but you know, you never know. You heard of gym wars? That's sometimes where they break out. Gym wars. Yeah, but when you go away to camp, you know, you specifically have a set design of who you're going to bring or invite as a sparring partner. and you're going to use this guy for some reason, you're going to use that guy for another reason, and you're going to go through a gauntlet. Maybe you're going to spar 2 rounds or 3 rounds with this guy. He's getting out of the ring. Then you bring in another guy, and he goes 3 rounds, and you get him out of the ring. You get another guy. So you get a fresh meat, and then you try different things, or you try something, and it's conditioning. But a lot of times you can have a gym war erupt, and they'll either say calm it down. The trainers sometimes they anticipate, they have this, but it's all about keeping a fighter sharp and learning and just crisp and ready and conditioned. I mean, that's it. I mean, when I was with Stallone and Richie Giacchetti, and we had a camp with Lee Canalino, Aaron Pryor, myself, Vinny Curto. We were out in California, in Culver City. Stallone built us a gym there. And Aaron Pryor, I was fighting on the undercard, and I got cut and had to pull out. But his last successful title defense was against Gary Hinton. And that's the card I was supposed to fight on with Aaron. Aaron and I, we sparred for 8 weeks almost every day. We sparred hundreds and hundreds of rounds. There was no other sparring partner. I was his only sparring partner. Every day we had basically a gym war. And I mean, we loved each other, but we're trying different things and everything else. And people were there. We used to fill up the darn gym just to have people come and watch us spar. But, it worked. We got ourselves in great shape, and we ran every morning. But so it depends upon the fighter. It depends upon who you're going to fight. It depends upon the style. Now, I didn't have the style for Gary Hinton, but I was just a warrior. We were in condition. And, so for that purpose, Richie Giacchetti thought, hey, let's just work together with you guys for certain reasons. And that was it. But yeah, then the other time you'll have a boxer. You want to bring in this guy for this style. It depends, Bill. It really depends upon the fighter. It depends upon the opponent he's going to face. So it's subject to change at any time.
Well, my point was that, he's sparring Rigondeaux, helping prepare Rigondeaux for Lomachenko, but then says Lomachenko's going to beat him. I don't know for sure.
That's not good.
Well, I don't know for sure if he's ever sparred Lomachenko, and he can give a firsthand assessment, or if he's going by what he sees in Lomachenko and then what he's actually doing with Rigondeaux. It's going to be a good fight, but either way, Teofimo is a fighter that is a prospect on the rise. When you see other fighters on the other side of the career, like we saw recently, Moritz Wach fight the Baby Miller, who's another overrated bum. He took on that sparring partner mentality. I'm talking about Wach, so, and I'm not suggesting that Teofimo has yet, but he also goes on, Jesse goes on to say, Billy Jose Carlos Ramirez needs to work on his footwork, head movement, return his punches faster to guard his chin. Amir Aman will test him highly. Amir Aman is a strong puncher. What I like about Jose Carlos Ramirez is that he's a fast fighter. He comes at you, no pussyfooting around. He all fighters today, Jesse, in my opinion, don't move their heads enough, and that's why we see these guys taking beatings. If you go back and look at the older fights from the greats, there are some. Boxing has evolved from a scientific standpoint. There's no question about that. But you certainly see a lot of fundamentals like head movement, footwork, moving, maneuvering is the word I want to use. Maneuvering your opponent to a position where you can, inflict damage or, do what you do best against him seems to be lost. And that's what, some of these fundamentals like head movement, foot movement work. And I do agree that Jose Carlos Ramirez, he has hand speed, but he does need to increase the speed a little bit with his counter punching. Is that even possible, Sal? Can you work on hand speed from a counter punching perspective?
You could, but you have to be drilled. It has to go over and over, and your trainer's got to be right on top of you. You're going to take a shot, you slip it, and boom, you do this. It's like acting on a dime. You got to boom, turn around. It's amazing, Bill. But a lot of times, what could make you a great or world-class fighter or just an average sparring partner is right up here, unlocking your mind. And if you see yourself as being methodical or slow or this and that, that's all you're going to do. When you see yourself snap with the punches and boom, boom. It's because you're unlocking, you're realizing them, and you know what you have to do. It's the kinesthetic sense. Not every fighter has it, but it's the body and the muscles in touch with the brain, and it's like a trigger. Boom, bada boom, bada boom. And some fighters can, some fighters can't. But you got to drill it. You got to practice it. You got to hone it in, and you got to try and use all those God-given talents and skills that one possesses.
Well, just like Coach just said in the chat room, it's all about timing. Listen, why do you suppose Floyd Mayweather always took a couple of rounds before he was able to really shift it into gear where he was, not that he was exciting by any stretch of the imagination, but his counterpunching came, after the fourth, fifth, sixth round. And that's because he had, gotten to know, he felt out his opponent, and he was able to time them. And then the counterpunching, which makes a counterpunch seem quicker, is when you're already releasing it as the punch is still coming at you. You're still getting that punch from your opponent, and you already know it's coming. You're avoiding it, and at the same time unleashing your own counterpunch, which would give the illusion that it's coming faster. It's just coming at you at the right time. He says,
that's so true.
Yeah, no. He says Luis Arias did not want to really box Danny Jacobs. Hopefully Jacobs gets a big fight next. Maybe the winner of Lemieux versus Saunders would be a good one. I don't think Arias. I think Arias was trying to. To bring Danny Jacobs out of his game, mentally, and couldn't. And then. Danny Jacobs was, in my opinion, was content with just outboxing him, and Arias was content with letting him. I was hoping that Danny Jacobs would have made a bigger statement. But like Cut Manrella said the other day in an email, he won every round, which he did. But in this middleweight landscape right now, aside from Triple G and Canelo, you got Lemieux and Saunders. And Danny Jacobs is the next guy. Danny Jacobs, destroy Luis Arias, knock him out in that fight. And, people are going to start putting Daniel Jacobs' name up, with the Triple G and Canelo, possibly bypassing Lemieux and Saunders. But I do agree that would be a great fight. But like I've said all along, I'm looking for Danny Jacobs to get the shot at Murata's title. Murata's title in Japan. You watch, that's what's going to happen. He says Cletus Selden against Steve Claggett, Ulysses Jr., Maurice Hooker next. He was impressive with his ability to come out and attack his opponent. Claggett would be a good fight. Listen, we said it when we talked about the fight. Selden was impressive, came in shape, seemed bigger, very primitive. This guy is going to have trouble when he fights a true boxer. He just doesn't have the skill set, but he throws a lot of punches. He's got a lot of heart, and he's got that freakish punching power, which is always an equalizer. Thanks for the email. We got another one here. This one's from Joel. And this is the last one I got today, Sal. He says, hey, Billy C., welcome back. It was hard. Well, let me finish the sentence. He says, it was hard for me to go about my week without you and Sal on a daily basis. Yeah, it wasn't like we took a vacation, and I know Joel knows this. We had some system issues that...
talk to our psychotherapist.
Yeah, we had... we took some time off, and it affected both Sal and myself, and we've been in therapy ever since. How's your therapy going, Sal?
Oh, I confused my guy, and he's already in therapy himself.
I was just gonna say my therapist is now seeing people after talking to me because he's a little out there right now. But he says after it was announced today, with no surprise, that David Haye is out of his match with Tony Bellew on December 17th with torn bicep. Dillian White has tweeted to Eddie Hearn that he would be more than willing to step up on short notice and without a proper camp to face Bellew on that date. it's not really a short notice. It's a month away. I mean, 3 days less. I mean, it's 4. Yes, most fighters like 6 weeks, but assuming that these guys are in decent shape. I mean, if you've learned one thing from the great fighters in the past, at least most of the top fighters, they stay in shape. You know, the guys that let themselves get out of shape and then go into an 8-week training program for a fight and spends 4 weeks on conditioning and then 4 weeks on a game plan, those are the guys that usually have had trouble. You know, when you see guys that maintain a decent shape between fights, these guys are the ones that come in with more and better executed game plans. So, you know, assuming that Dillian Whyte, a guy that's on the cusp, to suggest that he's not in good shape. But anyway, he says, do you think Eddie Hearn will salvage the card by giving the UK fans a solid replacement by putting in Whyte, or do you feel it's too much risk that Whyte could stop Bellew and kill the momentum that Tony has been building up since losing to Adonis in 2013? I'd love to see that fight and hope they can work something out, because that'd be a massive UK fight. I would be more interested in that than the original match of a rematch of Bellew Haye. And to be honest, how do you even feel about Bellew campaigning at heavyweight recently? Do you think he should try his luck at 175 with Ward retired, or are you happy seeing him move up 2 weight classes at heavy? What's your and Sal's opinions? And he wanted to go on to say, I wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving. I wish you and your family a happy Thanksgiving too, Joel. You know,
thank you, Joel. You too.
Yeah, I don't. Bellew should stay in the lower weight divisions. I mean, you know, as far as Dillian Whyte, you know, I know Tony Bellew was considering staying in the heavyweight division and wanting to fight this and wanting to fight that. The truth of the matter is David Haye is a fraud. He can't fight. Why doesn't David Haye fight Dillian Whyte? Why doesn't David Haye go after, you know, a name over in England? How about Tyson Fury and David Haye fight? How about that?
It's a good fight. That's a good fight. That'd be good. Welcome back to Tyson.
Yeah, you know, and David Haye, you know, I mean, that would be a decent fight. I mean, Tony Bellew, I think should stay in the lower weight class. I don't think he poses a problem for any real heavyweight. What do you think?
Well, I think you're right. I think, you know, he's good at where he is. I mean, but if he, you know, stays in the lower weight, he'll be a strong, big guy. And you know, some of these heavyweights, as we know, they're over 250 pounds. They're 6'7", they're 6'5", and you know, it's a different world today. I mean, it really is. I mean, when you look at the heavyweight champions of yesteryear, I think the last smaller heavyweight was probably Evander Holyfield, and he wasn't that small either. But you know, today it's by standards. I mean, what's the cutoff? You got to be maybe 6'5" and 240 pounds. I don't know.
You know,
it's not like the days of Joe Louis. You're 6 foot or 6'2", or even Marky Marciano. You're 5'10" and you're 185 pounds. You know.
No, those days are gone. That's why the smaller heavyweight, even a guy like, you know, I love Brian Jennings. I think he's a quality heavyweight. I think let me rephrase that. I think he's a quality fighter. But in the heavyweight division, he's always going to have a tough time. You know, his opponents are outweighing him, you know, 40 pounds. And that's why I feel that when Deontay Wilder finally fights a legitimate heavyweight, you know, today's heavyweight, a guy that's, you know, 6'5" plus, 240 plus, that's in good shape, not just a fat pig, he's going to have trouble, you know, because he's a tall heavyweight, but build-wise, he's not. I got a question for you, Sal.
Me?
Yeah. Confucius in the chat room said that two psychiatrists pass in the hall, and one says hello, and the other says, I wonder what he meant by that, which I think is funny, which reminds me of a question for you. How many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb?
Oh, man, let me try and figure this out. 2?
Well, actually, it only takes 1, Sal, but the light bulb has to want to change.
Hold that thought. That, Billy C.
Well, hold
That's
that thought.
G-rated. I like that.
Hold that thought. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, I want to talk a little about 2 fights that are coming up. One's coming up Saturday, and one's coming up in a few weeks. And they both involve fighters that have been there and done that. One more than the other in Miguel Cotto, and one that seems to have dropped off the interest radar in Sergey Kovalev. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and 3-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-493-9652 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-493-9652 to have your free information kit rushed to your door. Again, that's 800-493-9652.
Stop living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
And it was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And Sal, just to follow up with the heavyweight discussion we were having, my man Ernie made an interesting point, and he's right. And I'm going to back it up with some scientific fact. He says, don't forget, Max Baer knocked out Primo Carnera, and he also put Joe Louis, and he outweighed them by over 50 pounds. And he says it's possible. It is possible. And some scientific backing of that is they say, and you know who they, well, I've always wondered who they actually are, but they say that a man, specifically a man that weighs 175 pounds, so, you know, light heavyweight, has the strength to knock out, you know, any anyone, really. Like, someone twice the weight. Your body can knock somebody out. And that's, that would back up a lot of what you just said. Rocky Marciano never weighed more than 188. Mike Tyson in his prime, best weight was 211, 214, something like that.
Right. 5'10.5".
So even my comment about Deontay Wilder, because I know Ernie's a big Deontay Wilder fan, wasn't to suggest he couldn't knock him out. It was more the other way around. I was thinking that Deontay Wilder needs to be tested by getting hit from a big, strong, a guy with a strong punch. Now remember something. Tyson Fury and Nikolai Valuev, two monsters in the heavyweight division, or they were monsters in the heavyweight. Both of those guys did not seemingly pack the punch that you would have expected from the men that size, especially Valuev. Valuev was a monster. Listen, I was in Denmark for a fight once, and I was in the elevator with Nikolai Valuev. And by the way, he couldn't even go in the regular elevator. This was like a what do they call them? A service elevator. That's how we were able to get back and forth from the dressing rooms to the where we got into the venue. And he was there as a guest. And they said, "No, you better go in the you better travel in the service elevator. It's better." And he was the biggest man I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was almost like he wasn't real. I mean, he was huge. I mean, just his whole height and width and girth and shoulder to shoulder. I mean, he was just a monster. But for a guy that big, and he was mean and ugly looking too. Nothing personal, Nikolai, but. He didn't seemingly hit that hard, whereas you get some of these smaller guys like Mike Tyson and, or even Triple G, when they land a punch, it's like thudding. That it packs a wallop. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. I mean, and that's because they execute it so professionally and so consistently and so devastatingly. I mean, it's uncorking the trunk. The solid, the trunk, and the thighs. And you look at Mike Tyson. He had quads on him like a freaking frog. I mean, meaning like they're just so muscular. Same thing with a lot of fighters. Marciano, quads. He had the biggest trunk. Bobby Chez, he's got a big trunk. And the whole thing, and that core, that waist, those hips and the thighs, that helps generate that speed, velocity, and punching power. The momentum of boom, just coming, snapping around. So yeah, you'll look at any heavy puncher, devastating puncher. I guarantee they'll have a good solid core, and their thighs are developed, and their whole midsection is very well developed.
I wanted to talk a little about two fights that are coming up, and one of them is the Miguel Cotto fight. That's taking place in a couple of weeks, December 2nd, at Madison Square Garden in New York City on HBO. Now, I've always been a fan of Miguel Cotto. There's no question about it. This is a warrior. This is a guy that's fought some great fights. And really, you can make the argument that he's never been in a boring fight because of his style, et cetera, et cetera. And he's getting ready for his final fight. Now, I do have a couple of reservations about this final fight and how it's being billed and everything else. I mean, remember, he is a world champion. He fought in his last fight for the vacant WBO junior middleweight title, so he is a champion. And this will be a world title fight when he steps in the ring on December 2nd, when he's fighting Saddam Ali. I don't know if I'm really for this. Hey, everybody, this is my last fight. We have heard this from him before. He was going to retire several years ago. I'm curious to know how many people are going to go to this fight. Miguel always draws a large crowd at Madison Square Garden, a big Puerto Rican fan base. And Saddam Ali is actually a New York fighter, and you got to assume he's going to draw. But what do you think is the real feeling about this fight, Sal? Do you think people are going to go to this fight? And if so, are they going to go to get the last glimpse at Cotto? Or do you think that this is actually a competitive fight? What's your thoughts?
I think you're going to have people turn out for both reasons. I think, the fan base of both or each fighter are going to continually support their fighter, so they'll show up. That's an automatic, basically. And whether you're going to think you're going to witness Miguel Cotto's last fight or...
we just lost you, Sal. I'm not sure what happened with Sal, but we lost him. But anyway, I think, me personally, I think that I think Miguel Cotto, there is some interest in seeing him, and like I said, his fights are always exciting. But as far as Saddam Ali, I think there's a great opportunity for him to really ruin the parade, so to speak, the victory lap, if you will, of Miguel Cotto. So we'll have to wait and see about that. Miguel Cotto had a quote. He says, "I'm grateful for boxing and what it's done for me and my family. I owe a lot to boxing, and I have no regrets for my career. I appreciate my whole career. It was a tough career." Can't deny and disagree with any of that statement from Miguel Cotto. And this is where, earlier in the show we were talking about BS artist David Haye, where you have a hard time believing anything that comes out of that clown's mouth. Miguel Cotto's the anti-David Haye. The only thing that came out of his mouth in the past was about him retiring, and he actually, never did when he said he would. But I believe and agree with everything he said in this short snippet I took for you, or just read for you. The bottom line is he has had a tough career, and it seems like he's in the right place right now mentally. There was some rough times for him making decisions about his career and his personal family decisions, and it seems like collectively they've made it. So I think this fight means a lot to Miguel Cotto to look good and to go out the way all of his fights were. And as far as Saddam Ali, I think Saddam Ali is a fighter that he's got something to prove, and he's got a really good opportunity here to do what he has to do. So we'll see what happens there. The other fight that I wanted to talk about was the Sergey Kovalev, the return of Sergey Kovalev. And, the thing about Kovalev is that he seemingly has lost a lot of respect from a lot of different people, including myself. And we got Sal back now. I don't know what happened there, my man. But, Kovalev, I'm talking about Kovalev now. And, they're trying to make this fight that he's having this weekend as, in the words that they're using, Kathy Duva specifically, says that, his last fight was a wake-up call, and he's in a position to hit reset on his career, et cetera, I think he's lost a lot of respect based on his last performance. What's your thoughts?
Well, Bill, I hate to be redundant, and I always say a fighter is only as good as his last fight. And with that being said, I saw a Kovalev in the ring against Andre Ward that was supposed to revisit his performance of the first fight, where I do believe that Sergey Kovalev did defeat Andre Ward in that first fight. That's what we all saw, or a lot of us saw. And we expected to see even a more dominant Sergey Kovalev. And what we saw was Kovalev who didn't do as he said he was going to do, and that he was easily hit in the midsection and then down and looking for the referee, in my opinion, to stop the fight because he didn't put up much opposition. What are you doing? What do you mean stop him? Nah, he didn't. I saw a quitter. I saw somebody that was just there, going through the motion, and right then and there, I lost all respect that I had for Sergey Kovalev, and I have no interest in even following him, no fight or watching him, except for the show purpose. That's it.
You remember the show back in the '80s called Max Headroom? It was on MTV. That's how you're looking and sounding right now. That's how you're looking and sounding right now. I don't know what's going on with your connection, but you reminded me of Max Headroom. But I agree with what you're saying. I think that Kovalev, and we had some comments about that in the chat room. I believe it was yesterday, that was saying, well, Kovalev Ward cheated or hit him below the belt and didn't get any help from the ref, et cetera, et cetera. My outlook on Kovalev was that Kovalev talked a lot. And the first fight was controversial. I do believe that Kovalev got robbed in the first fight. And I don't mean robbed. I shouldn't use that word. But I thought Kovalev won the first fight. It was a close fight, but I thought he won it. The title of the second fight was No Excuses. And we certainly heard a plethora of excuses from Sergey Kovalev. And not only that, but he seemingly did not want to engage. And he talked a lot of smack leading up to the fight. There's nothing worse than a fight, in my opinion. There's nothing worse than a fighter who talks smack and doesn't even attempt to back it up. And that's what I saw with Sergey Kovalev. Sergey Kovalev was a typical schoolyard bully who somebody stood up to and he backed down, looking for the referee for help. The saddest part is that Andre Ward, who's not known as a knockout puncher, not only predicted he was going to knock out Kovalev, but he did, so I mean, for Ward, that was nothing but positives for him. For Kovalev, I don't think there's much interest in him anymore, not just from myself and Sal, but I think that we're going to see that the attendance is not that great at Madison Square Garden this weekend. And I also think that, the ratings aren't going to be that good. And the fact that the WBO has anteed up and made this fight for a vacant title for Kovalev. Since when can a fighter come off of not one but two losses, regardless of whether you thought he won the first fight or not? On record, it's a loss. How can a sanctioning body give a fighter a world title shot coming off of back-to-back losses, Sal? I mean, how can they justify that?
It's amazing because it does not make sense. You talk about credibility. I mean, he did have two back-to-back losses, and here he is going in the ring for a title fight. And that just tells you how many belts there are that are available that they're looking for champions. I mean, that's pathetic. That's the whole thing. And Sergey Kovalev qualifies and is next in line for that kind of belt. It's a participation trophy.
Right. That's what it is. And, as a sanctioning body, you're devaluing your belts by doing
Well,
that.
that's it.
And
yes.
Yeah, but that's us looking at it from a value point for the belt itself. But the truth of the matter is they obviously don't care who gets the belt as long as somebody pays the sanctioning fee.
Well, you're right there, Bill. And like I said, had he had a fight before and looked good during that fight and said, hey, Kate, I'm now back on top or whatever. But to come off two losses, consecutive losses, and fight for a title, it's in my opinion devaluing the belt.
I wanted to talk about a little bit about Mikey Garcia. Last week, Mikey Garcia, it became known that he turned down a unification fight between Jorge Linares to fight. They, according to Golden Boy, they gave him everything he asked for. The money was split the way Garcia wanted. The weights were the way he wanted. Everything was in Garcia's favor, and he decided not to take the fight. What he ended up doing, what hasn't been announced yet, that he was offered a better deal financially to fight on a rival network, which was Showtime, to fight Robert Easter. According to De La Hoya, Team De La Hoya, they had given him everything that he asked for, the purse, the split, everything that Mikey Garcia's team had asked for. And at the end of the day, he turned down the Linares fight and is accepting a Robert Easter Jr. fight on Showtime. And no one loves Mikey Garcia more than me.
I know.
But, when it becomes all about the money, and which this clearly is the case, and I'm not going to criticize Garcia in a sense for taking more money for a legitimately easier fight in Robert Easter Jr. But, Sal, when do you sit down with your team and look at, arguably similar dollars and say to yourself, you have something to prove that you are the best, and actually lean towards, on paper, what seems to be the tougher fight, plus a unification fight, plus it could only add more value to your bottom line in fighting Jorge Linares versus Robert Easter Jr. What's your thoughts on Mikey Garcia's decision here?
Well, I think it was a little bit short-sighted on that level, unless they just said, "Hey, guess what? Let's get this one. It's an easy one. We'll build up some more momentum, and we'll go fight the next one." And I don't know. I don't know, but I would think that they should have sat down, really look at. Not only you got to look at mapping out a career, what you're doing with one fight in front of you, what's it going to do to you, what is it going to make you, where is it going to position you in that whole arena of world-class fighters. And then you got to look, okay, after that fight, if we get through that, where is the next step, the next opponent? What's going to bring the most money? What's going to bring the most recognition? What's going to bring the most credibility? So you're mapping out a career, so to speak. And I think this one, it was just maybe a little sidestep. And for whatever reason, they felt they had to take this fight for the money, and maybe they have their own personal reasons. Who knows?
Yeah, well, Mikey Garcia is arguably one of the best fighters in boxing, and it seems like, he took more money for the least amount of risk, which I'm not going to criticize him for.
Can't criticize him.
But on the other hand, but here comes the but.
There's always a but.
When you have a chance to be discussed with all-time greats, I think you need to take that opportunity, and that's something that Mikey might be passing up on. But hey, there's a big fight tonight. Well, it's not a big fight, but the return of Devon Alexander, and he's taking on Walter Castillo tonight on Tuesday Night Fights. And I just wanted to take a look at both of these fighters real quick. Devon Alexander, former world junior welterweight and welterweight champion, loved Devon Alexander when he fought. He hasn't fought in over 2 years. His last fight was a 10-round unanimous decision loss against Aaron Martinez back in October of 2015. And, he's we lost Sal again. So I apologize for that. Obviously, he's in an area that I can't get him back. But Aaron Martinez, not that he's a terrible fighter, but definitely Devon Alexander was eons above him and came up short in a 10-round fight. He also lost a 12-round decision against Amir Khan a year prior to that. So, and actually, in his last 4 fights, which date back to December of 2013, when he lost his welterweight title to Sean Porter in Brooklyn on December 7th in 2013, he has lost 3 of his last 4 fights, including that one. The only win he has was a 10-round decision over Jesus Soto Carras in 2014. Now, prior to that fight against Sean Porter, this guy was winning all the fights. The only loss that he had on his record was a technical decision to Timothy Bradley in 2011 when he lost his junior welterweight title. I had seen Devon Alexander several times live. He started really coming into promise back in 2008 when he beat a then very respectable DeMarcus Chop Chop Corley with a 12-round decision. Chop Chop Corley was 31-7 with a draw at the time, almost 10 years ago. And he had a real easy fight in between. But Christopher Fernandez, although his record wouldn't look that way when they fought, he was in Juan Urango, because he was destroying people at the time. And I'll never forget putting some money on Juan Urango and then picking up my credential and overhearing the team of Urango basically saying that he hurt his arm and they kept it from the doctors and everything, and that he shouldn't even be in the fight. And I'm like, oh geez, I had just put some money on Urango to win the fight. And Urango still gave Devon Alexander a tough time. I was ringside for that. And the funny thing about it was that the post-fight, and ultimately Juan Urango was stopped, vicious uppercut, if I recall correctly, in the 8th round. And at the end of the fight, Devon Alexander had the mic in his hand, and he's saying, I was never touched. Juan Urango never hurt me, never hit me, never did this, never did that. And you should have seen, I don't know if they showed it on TV or not, because I think it was an HBO broadcast, but you should have seen the red marks on his body from the punishment that Juan Urango, one-handed Juan Urango, was inflicting on him. He clearly took some punishment in that fight, but won. And he followed that with a win against Kultachnik, Andre Kultachnik in Missouri, in his hometown in St. Louis in 2010. And then he ultimately lost his titles to Timothy Bradley. He would get back up on his horse and win back-to-back fights against Matisse and Marcos Maidana, and then got another world title shot against Randall Bailey when Bailey had the IBF World Welterweight title and won that. He had one successful defense against Lee Purdy, and then lost his title to Sean Porter, and then lost, including that fight, 3 of his last 4, like I said earlier, only beating Jesus Soto Carras. Now he steps in the ring with Walter Castillo, who's never fought, as far as I know, at 147. He's campaigned his whole career in the junior welterweight division. He's 5'10", 2 inches taller than Alexander. He's an orthodox fighter. Alexander's a southpaw, and he's coming off a year layoff as well. In his last 4 fights, he's got 1 win, 2 losses, and a draw. His last fight was a knockout loss to Sergey Lipinets over a year ago in 2016. He had a majority draw against Keita Obara in November of 2015. Amith Diaz, in July of 2015, he stopped in 3 rounds, and he lost a 10-round decision to Amir Oman in 2015. Walter Castillo is a tough fighter, and he's a tough guy for Devon Alexander to come right back in after a 2-year layoff. However, Walter Castillo has beaten tough guys throughout his career, if you look through his resume, but he's never beaten a top guy. And I'm not suggesting that Devon Alexander is back at the top yet, but he's certainly along those lines of fighters that had given Walter Castillo trouble in the past. I think this is an important fight for Devon Alexander. He is the main event on a Tuesday night fight. His brother, his actual older brother, who did 7 years in a slammer, is also fighting. I don't know if he's fighting on this card, but he's returned to his career and doing well. So I think Devon has some support of his brother, and he's going to give it another go. I mean, the truth of the matter is he's 30 years old, and just turned 30 in February, so he's pushing 31. He's had 2 years to recoup, I would say. 26 wins, 4 losses, never was stopped, has 14 knockouts. Big fight for him. Both fighters weighed in under the 147-pound limit. Devon Alexander, despite being off 2 years, came right in at perfect weight, 146 3/4, and Walter Castillo weighed 146 1/4. Like I said, Castillo moving up in weight for this one. I think that Devon Alexander should have no problem. Well, I think he's going to win the fight. Whether he has a problem or not, we'll see later on. But I'm picking Devon Alexander. Hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, like I said, for some reason we've lost Sal. But when I come back, we got that question again. Don't go nowhere.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
This important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Stop living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
It was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C Show. Glad you could be with us. And again, I apologize. My man Sal is in his secret undisclosed location, and he's having some hard times getting back to us. So he will be back tomorrow. And speaking of tomorrow, don't forget we're going to have Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner Larry Hazard join us tomorrow. And we have this week's Blast from the Past, which features Tony the Tiger Lopez, former world champion. Alex Papali will be here to tell us about that. And then we're off for the Thanksgiving holiday. We'll be back Monday. So make sure you mark that down. But take your time and go back and watch some of the shows or listen to some of the shows that you might have missed in the past. It's a good time to catch up on that. Our trivia question, which is a tough one, I guess. I thought it was a little easier because of that guy Google. But if you're the first one to email me the correct answer, Billy at Talkin' Boxing. That's TALKINBOXING.com. And that's not just for the email. That email address is not just for the trivia question answer. If you want to email us something to read, or if you have a question, comment, or concern you want to give to us, that's the email address to use, Billy at Talkin' Boxing, TALKINBOXING.com. Especially if you're a business owner and you want to get involved with the show in terms of sponsorship, definitely drop us an email. We're looking to expand our sponsors. And as we grow, and our new series, which you'll be seeing in the press Monday, I'll be doing a press release, but I'll let you guys know right now. We have been added to several television networks that are going to be kicking off with our new series called Billy C's Boxing Revisited. And keep your eyes open for a press release that I'll be sending out on Monday. But if you look at our website, BillyCBoxing.com, you'll see 3 of the networks, actually 4 of the networks right up on there. So check them out and support them. Make sure you reach out to every one of those networks and tell them that you want more Billy C on their network, and we'll get there. So anyway, back to the trivia question. If you're the first one to email me the correct answer, Billy at Talkin' Boxing, TALKINBOXING.com, you'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. It's the same simulation game that Alex Perpali uses for our blast from the past. Here's the question. I am in the International Boxing Hall of Fame, and I once lost 4 consecutive fights against 2 brothers. Who am I? I am in the International Boxing Hall of Fame, and I once lost 4 consecutive fights against 2 brothers. Who am I? I'm going to give you a hint here. This guy's first and last name both begin with the same letter. His first and last name both begin with the same letter. And I'll throw you another piece of a hint. It was his fighting name that begins with the same letter, first and last name. I am in the International Boxing Hall of Fame, and I once lost 4 consecutive fights against 2 brothers. Who am I? The hint, his boxing name, or as we knew him as a boxer, both his first and last name begin with the same letter. Good luck to everyone on that one. On this day in boxing history, November 21st, in 1987, Julian Jackson knocks out Injol Beck in the 3rd round to win the vacant WBA World Junior Middleweight title. Took place in Vegas. On this day in 1987, Julio Cesar Chavez knocks out Edwin Rosario in the 11th round to win the WBA World Lightweight title, and took place in Las Vegas. On this day in 1984, Coyote Galaxy knocks out Abusio Espinel in the 6th round to win the vacant WBA Junior Bantamweight title. Took place in Bangkok. On this day in 1916, Jack Britton wins a 12-round decision over Charlie White to retain his World Welterweight title, and that took place in Boston, Massachusetts, that is. On this day in 1981, Alexis Arguello knocks out Roberto Elizondo in the 7th round to retain his WBC World Lightweight title, and that took place at the Showboat Casino in Las Vegas. Guess who was ringside for that? That's right, yours truly. And on this day, in 1972, Muhammad Ali knocks out Bob Foster in the 8th round to retain his NABF heavyweight title, and that took place at the Sahara Tahoe Hotel in State Line, Nevada, on this day, November 21st. Hey, before I let you go, I'm going to fill you in on something. Just remember one thing. When you buy a bushel of bananas, remember one thing. out of that whole bushel of bananas, or that whole, I don't know what you call them, that clump of bananas, there's not a banana in that bunch that's older than the rest of the bananas in that bunch. You can't say that for about an apple or an orange or anything else, because as those other fruits, ripen, one may be a little riper than the other. One may be a little older than the other, but not with bananas, because they're all the same age. A little interesting tidbit there. Hey, make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.